Is the mayor on?
No, not yet. Hello, who just on the call?
Okay, it's already 6:01. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting. The City of Kenedy, Texas, regular City Council meeting, September 9th, 2020, 6 p.m. Our regular second Tuesday City Council meeting. The quorum is present. Amanda, can you please call roll?
Councilor Briones?
Present.
Councilor Wynn?
Here.
Councilor Fine?
Here.
Councilor Cano?
Here.
Councilor Meyer?
Here.
All are present.
All present. Leslie, can you go ahead and call roll? Can you say a prayer, please?
Sure. Well, Heavenly Father, we thank you for what you've just done with us, and we appreciate that, and we ask that you would continue to watch over us as we go through the City Council meeting and help us to have clarity and understanding so that we can finish the task that you put before us. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you, Leslie. Citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments, Amanda?
Yes, I have 2 citizen comments.
Okay, go ahead.
The first one is from Ferris Overby, and it states, Ferris Overby speaking on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Board to request the mayor and council to table item 16 until we are able to Zoom, meet in person, or meet at another time other than a regular city council meeting, since there are many agenda items. At this meeting time, our board would be able to discuss, talk over, ask questions about the changes to our park and recreation ordinances bylaws. Thank you, Parks and Recreation Board. And the second one is from Alberto Valderramos. It states, good evening, Honorable Mayor James D. Sutton, Mayor Pro Tem Brandon Briones, City Councilors, City Secretary Hines, City Manager Lynn, and City Attorney. I first would like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to share this citizen comment. I am currently an appointed member on the Parks and Recreation Board, also the secretary on such board. The reason for my citizen comment is that I am very upset at the same agenda item pertaining to the Parks and Recreation ordinances that was placed on the August 11th City Council meeting is on the agenda again. During that meeting, a citizen comment was read on behalf of the Parks and Recreation Board to table the agenda item for the fact P&R Board wasn't aware of anything. I thank you all that it was tabled. It was stated by Councilor Cano that City Manager Lynn meet with the Parks and Recreation Board and then bring back the item back to Council for consideration and possible action. All City Council agreed. Mr. Lynn, till this day, has never gotten with the Parks and Recreation Board. He was invited to attend our Parks and Recreation Board meeting via telephone on August 18th by President Ferris Overby numerous times. He said at the meeting he never replied to her text messages or returned calls to attend. During our meeting, she called his name numerous times if he was on the line and no response. I emailed both Councilors Fines and Cano to let them know he did not attend the Parks and Recreation Board meeting via phone. Councilor Fines replied saying that City Manager Lynn had emailed each councilor he would schedule a meeting with both Parks and Z Board as soon as he could schedule. There hasn't been no meeting with City Manager Lynn. Councilor Cano spoke with me and is very disappointed with his actions. He apologized and assured it would be addressed. I am very disappointed the way he treated Ms. Overby during that August 11th meeting. He was very disrespectful, unprofessional, rude on his behalf. I am asking this evening that item 16 be tabled or no action for the fact that City Manager Lynn did not follow direction. He has refused to perform an order from all his supervisors. This is insubordination. His actions should be discussed immediately and placed on the agenda under personnel matters, grounds for termination. I feel he's doing everything possible to control abuse of authority and has lack of communication and also interpersonal and management skills. This needs to be addressed. I do not want a repeat of what happened with his previous employment at Valley Mills or Leonard, Texas. You all know because I gave you copies of these approved minutes from those two cities. My questions this evening are, what are you as a council going to do since he did not follow a direction? How are you going to address the way he treated a city board member? Is this the type of city manager you want for our community? I thank you all for doing what you can for our city. It's not an easy task. I know how it is as a citizen and a city council member. To protect, serve, and abide the law of the Texas local government, so help you God. I pray that you all honor that oath. Once again, thank you all for giving me this opportunity. Have a good night. Alberto Valderrama. And those are the two public comments.
Thank you, Amanda. Moving on to item number 5, departmental reports. City Secretary, please.
The city had 2 new hires for the month of August. One was a wastewater treatment plant superintendent, and the other one was a water and sewer crew member. The Kenedy City Hall still continues to accept payments through the drop boxes by the ramp and on the front door, and late fees and disconnects are still being waived for this month. For the month of August, the city municipal court collected $10,380.37 in cash and checks, $100 in jail credit and community service, $2,198.80 in credit card payments, and $0 in transfer. Total amount received is $30,679.17. And now the Kenedy Volunteer Fire Department August monthly report. Kenedy Volunteer Fire Department responded to 5 calls for the month of August. 1 was a 4-car vehicle accident, 1 was a grass fire, 1 was a vehicle fire, and 2 fire alarms. Due to COVID, the department has been unable to have its regular monthly meetings with its members. There are no new members signed for the month of August. And now Joel can continue with the code compliance report.
Evening, council members. For the month of August, we've had 12 permits, 20 inspections, 20 roll-offs. We started taking bids for a demo, wrote 6 violation letters, and that is about it.
Okay. I can now go to Public Works Director. Give me just a second. Okay, Jerry.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, City Council. I'll start with the water treatment plant. We produced a total of 53.7 million gallons for the month. We had a total water loss of 220,000 gallons. I'll move on to the street. The street's done 78 service orders and or requests that they completed, using 42 cubic yards of asphalt and 21 cubic yards of base. The wastewater treatment plant had no violations for the month of August. The daily flow average was 1.3 million gallons per day. Monthly flow total was 39.1 million gallons. We had 0.1 inches of rain for the month of August. and no SSOs reported to TCEQ for the month. In our distribution and collection, we had no new water or sewer services installed. We had 214 rereads or check meters for billing purposes. We had 14 checked for water leaks, and we repaired 14 water leaks. We had 8 sewer backups, and we jetted 64 sewer lines for maintenance. We had miscellaneous service orders of 78 for total service orders completed for the month for the distribution and collection was 541. They were really busy. Projects we had going, we replaced the 6-inch water main on North 5th Street from Escondido Creek to 719. That was approximately 1,100 feet of pipe. And it's been completed as far as the water line goes. Phase 2 at the wastewater treatment plant is underway. The water treatment plant annex is completed. There's just a couple of little small odds and ends that we've got to complete to get that 100% complete, but it's basically there. And we've replaced approximately 550 feet on Graham Road from Escondido going up Graham Road so far, and they are still continuing to work on that. Hopefully they'll be through with another 300 feet probably. Well, it depends on the rain, but maybe by the end of next week to help with the issues that we've had there. And that's all I have at this time.
Jerry, this is Justin. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So on West Daly, we had that break a couple of days ago. Is it repaired yet? And if so, are we going to fill the street back in where that square was cut out?
You'll have to be more specific. I've been off for the last few days. I just came back today, and I'm not aware of the one you're talking about.
Yes, sir. So it's over, it's in between North 5th and North 6th, over off Daly Street, kind of where Rocky and Sandra live. The city, it must have been a water break, and the city must have went in and patched it and fixed the water line. But now there's, go ahead.
That was yesterday morning, I believe.
Yes, sir. I'm just trying to get an update on it. Yes, sir.
I will get with the guys tomorrow and see where they are with that, and see what we can do to take care of the problem.
Yes, sir. I'd appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, Chief, as you are updated.
All right, thank you very much. For last month, the main items of interest for the police department, our traffic officers continue to do really well. Our citations for trucks are actually going down, which is what we were hoping for, as fewer and fewer trucks are coming through on Main Street. Hopefully that will continue. And so he's doing really well on that, on Main Street and 5th Street. Our calls for service in August were up, along with our arrests, are a lot higher than normal. We're continuing to make more arrests, particularly on drug arrests are increasing. We're seeing more of them on traffic stops. In particular, we're finding drugs in the vehicles. Also, through our narcotics investigations, we're making more arrests on that as well. So we're happy with that. I decided not to move the speed monitors this month. I left the one there in front of the school. I put it there last month thinking the high school was going to start in August, but since they started in September, I just went ahead and left them where they were. We're finishing up the process of uploading our standards for the recognition program. We're getting very near the end of that, so I'm hoping only another month or two we'll be able to be inspected and get done with that process. It's been a 1.5-year process, but we're coming to the end of that. For our emergency management, the city workers were able to determine the cause of the siren malfunction. There's a motor that was out inside the siren itself. They've identified the part. We've ordered it. As soon as we get it, they can hopefully replace it, and then the siren will be turning again. It still sounds, but it just doesn't turn, so we can hopefully get that fixed. We won't have to replace the siren. We can get it going again. COVID cases do continue to grow in the county, as they are across the state. Appears that we're starting to hit a plateau and maybe starting to come back down a little bit, and we have hopes for that. I have not had any issues with citizens or businesses not following the COVID rules. Everybody seems to be doing really well on following that. Every now and then we'll have somebody, not want to wear a mask in a business, but it's very rare. Everybody seems to be doing really well with that. All of our businesses are following the rules, and everybody seems to be cooperating really well. From our animal control report, we had 41 calls last month, picked up 16 dogs and 12 cats, also 14 dead animals that we had to pick up. Almost all of our animals that we pick up are still going to the humane organization for adoption. And we did have 3 dogs that we picked up that were returned to the owner from our facility. We did write 3 citations and 3 warnings last month. And that is my report if you have any questions.
Chief Ash.
Yes, sir.
It's Councilor Briones here. I got a couple of questions. With all these I've been hearing a lot of stuff, some kind of concerns at the stores and stuff about burglaries. What have we done at night to help better secure the area that these burglaries and thefts are happening? I'm hearing a lot more going on at night, and suspicious activity starting to happen in certain neighborhoods. Do we have more officers patrolling those areas?
Well, I can tell you for the month of August, our thefts and burglaries were way down. We averaged probably 15 a month. Last month, we only had 5. That includes all thefts and burglaries. I'm not aware of any burglaries at businesses last month. A few months ago we had a rash, but those people have all been arrested. I can check and verify exactly what you're talking about, but I'm not aware of anything, any burglaries right now. But I can do a little more digging if you'd like.
Okay, if you can, that'll be great. Just because people are asking me questions at the store, and I'll tell them I would look into it and see it out after this meeting. So, and then the other question I have, with school starting back up face to face, do we have an extra patrol officer that we could spare in the morning, or is that a manager's job right there as well at the school, our SRO, to monitor traffic and all that other stuff?
Yes. So this week, I believe when we talked about hiring this traffic officer, y'all asked me about the school. So this week, our traffic officer is working the school zones. He comes in early, works the school zone, and then in the afternoon, he's been going over to help our SRO with this traffic getting out of the parking lots. They're trying a couple different traffic patterns to try to move people out of the parking lots quicker. So he's been helping with that in the afternoon as well. So yes, sir, we are doing that.
Okay. I'm good. Well, keep up the good work, Chief. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions for Chief Ash?
Muted.
Moving on. All right. Item number 6, city manager report.
Council, residents, good evening. So at City Hall, some things we're working on, just to let you all know. Those of you that have been to City Hall have noticed we're doing some rearranging. We're moving the city secretary to another office, out of the break room. And then we're going to turn that portion of the break room where her current desk is into an on-site training facility. We're going to put in some cubicles where city team members can come up here to City Hall and sit down in online training that they would have on the clock here at City Hall. We're also currently actively recruiting for various skilled and non-skilled positions across all departments. We're looking for people for the street department, the parks department, amongst several other departments as well. Congratulations, our 18-19 audits in the books, and it's good to report that the city did receive a clean audit. So I want to say, extend a kudos to the city secretary, her staff, and the accountant for all their efforts in getting the auditor everything they needed to get this audit taken care of. Our budget workshop we had was a big success. I want to thank the council and department directors for your participation and hard work in that. And the budget that we're going to be looking at adopting as a result of that. Looking forward to the future, some of the things that we're looking at doing here in the city, we're going to revise the finance policy. We're also in the process, City Council during my interviewing portion asked me about creating job descriptions and employee evaluation forms. We're going to be getting those taken care of, and we're going to peg them to pay scales. Well, the employee evaluation form we're looking at creating is going to be one that should be able to be used system-wide. So rather than having one for the clerks and one for the police and one for the public works, we're going to have one that will encompass everybody, and that'll be fair. We're also going to create a brand new, updated 5-year strategic plan. We're looking to accomplish all of this before the end of the year, so we can have that in place going forward with the projects we've got coming up and the wonderful things that are on the verge for the city of Kenedy. Speaking of some of those things, Escondido Park is on the cusp of opening. Sarah is looking somewhere between late September and mid-October for an official opening of Escondido Park. We will be later on in the agenda looking at bids for Pullen Street. So once we get a bid accepted for Pullen Street, we'll issue the notice to proceed and get Pullen Street done so that that's taken care of. As we discussed earlier in the night, the sports complex has a few more items prior to completion with Building A, the main concession stand. There's a lot of challenges in the setup in the kitchen area. It doesn't flow right, so we're working to revamp the flow of the kitchen and some other things there. In addition, we're looking at the HVAC units and the transformers that's outside behind the building, putting up that security fence there, and then the elevator that we need to get installed to stay ADA compliant. We are currently looking at gathering and comparing prices on a ladder truck for the FAST grant that we're going after. We need to, Ms. Langford and them had asked us to have a price so they knew what to submit, so we're in the process of getting that done. We've also identified the area on 2nd Street from Live Oak, that's Kenedy, that we're looking at doing the downtown revitalization program with. What we're mainly looking at doing there is revamping sidewalks and up lighting along the way on both sides of 2nd Street to brighten it up and improve the aesthetics there. So that's where we're looking at there. One thing of major interest I know that's on everybody's mind today is when in the world are we going to get to come back face to face? Everybody's asked the question, and we've all thought about it. The reopen policy that the City Council approved requires for 14 continuous days of a 14-day average under 10%. Prior to Labor Day weekend, we were hovering at about 10.2% on a 14-day average. So essentially what that means is once it dips below 10, that number has to hold under 10 for 14 days, and then we can come back face to face. So we'll know in 14 days where we're going to be with the Labor Day weekend. So just everybody, please keep that in mind. I know everybody's anxious to get back to face. Other than that, there's really not a lot to report. So does council have any questions before I move on?
I had one question, Mr. Lynn, on the fire truck. Are we having our fire team participate in that so that we are quoting something that will be functional for our needs?
I have reached out to Councilor Briones, and he has provided the foundation groundwork for it. I will be reaching out to Chief Bryan once I get multiple trucks for him to look at. It doesn't make any sense for me just to say, hey, here's one truck, look at it, what do you think? I want him to have enough options to look at to give me an educated decision as to what they think they're going to need and what they're going to, it's going to best serve Kenedy. So I will be involved. Yes, sir.
All right.
Anybody have anything else before I move on?
I do. So you didn't ask the chief for what he felt the need was for the fire truck or what he thinks thought it should be. I mean, he's the chief. I was just curious. You haven't reached out to him and got some input from him on what he thought what they need and what would be the best option before you start looking?
Not yet, simply because the issue that we have is pretty easy to identify. We have hotels in town, and we can't reach the top floor of the hotels for people. So the first thing we have to do is find out what's on the market that would reach the top hotels. And once we do that, then we've got to look and see where they fall price range-wise. This grant only gives us $500,000 to work with. While we do have a match on it, we don't want to put too much, cash in it because we're not going to have a lot of cash to move. So I feel that it's more prudent to stay in the range and then give the chief a bunch of options to look at and let him tell me what he wants out of those options rather than just spin our wheels on this. We don't have a lot of time. So, I'm going to involve Chief quite a bit on the final decision. I mean, they're going to have a say in it because, quite frankly, they're the ones who's going to be driving the truck, not me.
Oh, that's what I was thinking, too. All right.
It's just like, Counselor, I talked to one person, and, they were like, you need, a ladder that goes this high. And, those are things that these people who build these things know. I found out that our fire rating's between a 5 and a 5.3, which isn't bad. It's pretty good where we're at. So this ladder truck is actually going to help that as well. So, but yes, ma'am, they will be a vital part of this.
I just want to make sure that we included them in this decision.
Most definitely. Anybody have anything else?
Yeah, one last question since we're on this topic of that ladder truck. What would that bring when that finally comes and the ladder truck comes into town? Where do you think that would put Kennedy's ISO rating?
Council, I really couldn't even begin to tell you. I know it'll increase the ISO rating, because we'll have the truck that can reach the tops of the buildings, which we don't currently have. I hesitate to quote a number. I really do. I just really don't. I just really don't know how they'll rate it. I just know it'll increase it. That's all at this point.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Increase, but my thing is we just have to make sure we're getting the right truck and we're going to have the right place to store it, because we sure as heck don't want this truck stored out open in the heat,
Oh, no.
getting damaged. Crazy Texas heat, so we want to make sure that we have all our ducks in a row and have a place to store this thing, because we know obviously at what we have now, the facility we have now, we have no room for it.
No, exactly.
So
Exactly, Brenda.
that's the other concern I have is, where are we going to store this thing? Are we prepared to have it stored, under or inside a building so it doesn't get weathered?
The answer to your question is yes, ma'am. I've got a plan.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions?
Any more questions for Mr. Lynn? Okay, moving on. Presentation of the financials.
Yes, sir. All right, so one of the things I've never actually said to the council and to the residents is where we need to be as a municipality, not in terms of pegs towards our budget, but where do we need to be? If the bottom fell out of the boat, where do we need to be financially? Typically, you need to have about 3 to 4 months worth of your operating expenses in reserve. So that's kind of where people like to see the municipalities hovering, just in case. Well, the city of Kenedy has a $12 million budget, roughly, and we have a liquidity in our tax pool accounts and the cash in bank of $18 million. So we really have about a year and a half's worth of operating expenses already in reserves and with our cash. So we're really set and in a real good position financially if the bottom were to fall out. So just wanted to let you all know that. We're about 91.67% done with our year. And so when we look at the revenues, the general fund and the water and sewer fund are still lagging behind the budgets in revenues. And the major reason that the general fund is lagging behind the budget is due to an overstatement of revenues of the ad valorem tax. The ad valorem tax that was adopted was $1.1 million for this year, and that's about twice the amount that the city could feasibly receive. Case in point, year to date, we've only received $557,000 in ad valorem tax, yet the city budgeted $1.1 million. So there was an overinflation on that line item that causes our budget to look skewed towards the underperforming side there. Water and sewer revenues are down due to the continuation of not assessing late fees and things of that nature due to COVID-19. And that's a decision we've made to continue to help the residents of the city of Kenedy during these times. But the positive bright side is when we get down to the expenditures, we're outperforming our budget on expenditures. Our general fund is not at 90%. We're running about 83.68% of our general fund. So we're actually saving money there. And our water and sewer fund is running about 82.24%. So we're really doing a good job of controlling the expenses versus the budget, especially whenever we're looking at our revenues towards the budget. So the city's doing a really good job with its finances there. So anyone have any questions about the financials they'd like to ask? Okay. If not, councilors, that completes my city manager reports for the night. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on. Item number 7, consent agenda. Everybody have a chance to look at the city council meeting for item A. Okay, moving on. Approve the finance. Item B, approval of the financials.
Brenda, I'll make a motion that we approve the finances.
Motion by Leslie. Have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Justin. Discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Fines?
Yes.
Councilor Cano?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passes.
And then Brandon, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as well.
I got a motion by Justin.
I'll second that,
I'll
Brandon. This is Cindy.
Second by Cindy. Need more discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Fines?
Yes.
Councilor Cano?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passes. I would like to go to executive session for a moment under section 551.071, the consultation with the city attorney regarding the mayor.
I'll second that if that was your motion.
Are you making that a motion?
Yes, I'm making that a motion. Yes.
Okay. All right. And they already seconded it, so.
Hey, Brandon, can I make a statement real quick?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Justin.
On item number, let me see. Can we go ahead and before we do that, can we do item number 15, just in case there's anybody on the phone with 4B or Escondido Creek? We could just knock that out of the way first. Or, I mean, it's just a question. If the council doesn't want to do it, that's fine. I know someone with Sarah is on the phone, and so I don't know how long it's going to take until we get to that item. And I don't know if there's any other 4B members on the phone. So I didn't know if y'all would want to consider doing that first, just to kind of quicken the night for them, since we do have kind of a long meeting tonight.
I'm okay with that if y'all want to do that instead. You want to go 15 real quick? Can we do that, Mr. Lynn?
As the moderator of the meeting, Counselor, you have the privilege and autonomy to move items up and down the see fit.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do item number 15. Let's go ahead and do that since Sarah is on the phone.
You need to withdraw your motion for.
I have to withdraw that last motion at the moment for section 551.71 consultation with city attorney regarding the mayor at the moment. We'll come back to that after item 15.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and move to
unmuted.
Thank you, Leslie, for the reminder. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Consideration and possible action in regard to ordinance 20-17, an ordinance amending the adopted budget of the city of Kenedy, Texas for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30th, 2020 for the purpose of adding and funding additional line items relating to the construction at the Larry Keesting Sports Complex and the Escondido Creek Parkway, authorizing expenditures, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. A motion to discuss?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, motion by Justin. Second by Leslie. Second by Leslie. Discussion? Do we got a presentation?
All right, very good. Thank you, Council. Okay. So all night long, I've alluded to it. This is the item on the agenda where we're going to move all the money within the parks budget that you all actually approved last year, 2019-2020 budget, to use to shore up the items that we talked about for the sports complex. The one item that Councilor Meyer is alluding to as well that we're moving is also to take on 1/3 of the cost of conjoining the front sidewalk at Escondido Creek down the county road to the back sidewalk of Escondido Creek. As everyone is aware, the county did not pick up the full cost, but there was a workaround and we all came together and have met in the middle, and the county and the city and the Sarah all looking at dividing the cost up equally 1/3. So that would be a cost of about $45,000 to our portion to do that. So we're looking at creating two line items, one line item for the sports complex, one line item for the Escondido Creek, and then funding both of those line items through moving the funds up or down within the budget that was already approved by the city council. There is one typo in the ordinance. It relates to the electricity portion on page 4. Rather than $60,000, we're not moving from 20 to 60. We're moving from $20,000 to $6,000. So whenever you make your motion tonight, making the motion approving the correction to $6,000 would be a proper motion, and then we will change that after the fact before it gets signed.
And then Brandon, just because I know $45,000 is a little chunk of change to be asking the city for, Kristen Hansen with the San Antonio River Authority is on the line, and she can answer any questions pertaining to that walkway connecting the sports complex to Escondido Creek.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Are there any questions?
That was that when we went out to look at the Escondido Parkway. When I went out there, it was that back road that we were trying to connect. Is that right? I think they took us down that way on those little RVs or golf carts.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Muted. That's in the county road, right, Brenda?
Right. That's down that county
Yeah.
road, right? That we were.
Okay, the county road. Gotcha. Okay.
Kristen, you can go ahead.
I was just going to say yes. Thank you very much, Council. Yes, ma'am. That is where we're talking about. So if you were on the carts with us, we kind of stopped right up there at the windmill, and that's where the concrete trail stops. And you can take a right and drove down. We drove down County Road 367, where we met back up with our trail. But that was the area that we're talking about. It's the county road. And so our plan is to construct the path. It's going to look just like the path that you were already riding on, just off the side of the county road. And like it's already been discussed, to split that cost 3 ways. And the River Authority would also be the project manager for that trail. We already have the bids, and we've talked with Jaredon, who is our contractor on site, to work with that lowest bidder in order to keep the bids that the county had received last month, to keep the cost down for the city, the county, and the River Authority.
And then on that same trail, there was an area that you guys were real concerned about that had like a drop off that had an old drainage. Are y'all going to address that too when y'all do that pathway?
Yes, ma'am. We are. We've already talked to Jaredon about that. That wasn't addressed in the plan, so we're going to make some adjustments before so the contract actually gets started. We'll make some adjustments to make sure that is a safer area to pass.
Okay. That was all my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kristen, will that sidewalk going down that way, will it be the same size as all the walkways, or is that going to be a little bit smaller since it's right there next to the county road?
I believe it's still going to be the 10-foot wide hike and bike trail, like the rest of the trail is already built. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So the original bid was bidded at 10 foot wide.
Thank you, Doug.
Kristen, this is Cindy.
Hi.
One question, just real quick, and that is the 10-foot. Is that ADA compliant as well?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, it'll be ADA compliant. The whole trail is.
Okay.
And if there's no other questions or discussion, I'll make a motion. We approve agenda item number 15 and update that budgeted number from 20,000 down to 6,000 for the electricity.
And I'll
second that motion.
We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yeah.
Councilor Klein?
Yes.
Councilor Connor?
Yes.
Councilor Myers?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. Thank you, Christy, for answering the questions we had. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to make a motion that we go into a consultation with the city attorney regarding the mayor under section 551.071.
I'll second that again.
Okay.
Amanda, you gonna send us the numbers to call in?
Yes, sir. I will text everyone the phone number to call in, and then I will post on Facebook once we come back up.
Okay. All right.
All right. Amanda, call roll, please.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Kano?
Yeah.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. See you in closed session.
All council members are back on the call.
We're back on the call.
The call?
Okay. We're gonna go ahead. Thank you for returning back to the city council meeting for the city of Kennedy this evening. We're going to come back out of closed session into open session. I'll make a motion. We come back into open session.
I'll second that.
Okay. Roll call, Amanda?
Counselor Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Kano?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor.
Motion passed. All right. Moving on to item number 8. Consideration and possible action in regard to ordinance 20-14, an ordinance making appropriations for the support of the city of Kenedy, Texas for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021. Adopting the annual budget of the city of Kenedy, Texas for the 2020-2021 fiscal funding year budget. Funding municipal purposes, authorizing expenditures, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Make a motion that we consider item 8 on the agenda.
I'll
By
second.
Leslie, motion by Leslie. Second by Cindy. Discussion. Mr. Lim, presentation?
Yes, sir. Thank you, council. This is the result of our budget workshop and all the hard effort of the department heads they put in creating this year's fiscal budget. Now it's just up to the city council to adopt it so we can put it in the motion.
I just have a couple of questions. I have a question about the fire department. I know that you were wanting to make a department be paid by the city. Can you explain to me a little bit more about how that's going to benefit the city of Kenedy, having them as a department versus having them as volunteers?
That's not this year.
That's not on this budget.
That's not on this budget?
That is not a part of this budget.
No, ma'am.
I think what happened, Brent, is he decided not to increase the tax rate to go to a higher tax rate. He withdrew that from the original budget idea.
Oh, okay. So the one that we have, so maybe I have the wrong one then.
The one that you have should be $250,000 for the fire department.
No, I don't have that.
Are you talking about the salary sheet with the red, the fire department in the red color? Are you looking at that one?
No, that's not. We're not talking about the payroll. We're talking about the actual budget for the fire department.
Well, I know
we got all
getting it off of.
We got all those deals. It's the one that says fire department at the top, and it's
$52,000.
Okay, let me. What page is that? Can anybody tell me that real quick? Because I must have the wrong thing. Because I know the last one we did, and you must have revised it, but I don't see the revision to one. I must have the wrong one. And this is the one you just sent, Amanda?
Yes, it was the one I sent today. I'm looking to see what page the fire department is on so I can tell you. I'm almost there. It looks like the page 39 of the packet I
39?
sent will be a fire department report.
You said 39 or 79?
39.
39.
And at the bottom, the total is $251,847.
I think, well, here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Lin, but at the last meeting, you said that's something that the city might be looking forward into moving into, but it wasn't going to be this fiscal year. It's just a sheet to show you an idea of what might be coming. That's not coming this year, though.
That is correct.
That is correct.
But we still need about another $600,000 in order to have a paid fire department.
Well, that's what I was wondering, and that's why I didn't hear that part, I guess, on our last meeting, that it wasn't something we were doing this year. That's why I was confused. I was like, what the heck? So I was trying to figure it out, and I guess I didn't see the sheet that Amanda's seen. I'm looking at it now. So I stand corrected. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page because I had some concerns about that right now. But I'm glad you pulled that out or didn't add that.
Yeah, that was never actually added. It was a secondary proposal just on the budget worksheet. Just on the salary worksheet where we had the different colors at, but the actual budget for the fire department, this is what it was when we met the other night. This is from the budget workshop. There's $152 that wasn't used. It was $252,000, and but that was never actually part of the budget that we were going to approve.
Okay, I misunderstood then because I thought it was, and I kept looking at, and I guess I was looking at the wrong one. I had been looking at it through the weekend, and I was trying to figure it out, and I wanted to ask some questions about that, and I didn't realize that it was on this new one.
Brenda, your phone went away. What did you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. I said I was looking at, over the weekend, I was looking at the other one where it had the tax. Can you hear me now?
What's going on?
Brenda, I can hear you.
Oh,
I can hear you, Brenda. Leslie?
Okay.
Leslie's phone disconnected. Probably about to get back on. And...
Oh, okay. Well, I can wait till it comes back on. But I just was looking at the one where it had the salaries, and that's what I was questioning. I was going through the salaries, and I saw that one, and I know we had talked about it, so I just had some questions about it before we adopted it. But if it's not in there for this year, then I'm okay with that. I just wanted to make sure we were clear all the way across the board.
Oh, who you trying to call?
It's me, Leslie. I don't know what happened. It said Wi-Fi failed.
Okay, I got you back on.
Okay.
And Councilor Cano, just so you know, it would be a hybrid department, partial paid, partial volunteer.
Okay. When we get a chance, you and I can sit and talk about that later, since this isn't something for this year. But I was just had a bunch of questions about it, but we can talk about it later since it's not for this budget year.
Most definitely. Any other questions?
If there's no other questions, I'm going to make a motion to take action in regards to Ordinance 20-14, an ordinance making appropriate for the support of the city of Kenedy, Texas fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2020, ending September 30th, 2021, adopting the annual budget for the city of Kenedy, Texas, the 2021 fiscal funding year budget, funding municipal purposes, authorizing explanation, providing the severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
A motion by Leslie.
I'll second that, Leslie.
Second by Justin. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Counselor Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Kano?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. Moving on to item number 9, consideration and possible action in regard to ordinance number 20-15, an ordinance of the City of Kenedy, Texas, ratifying the property tax revenue increase in the 2020-2021 budget as a result of the city receiving more revenues from property taxes in the 2020-2021 budget than in the previous fiscal year and providing an effective date. I'll make a motion to discuss. Go ahead, Leslie.
I would make a motion we discuss item 9 on the agenda.
I'll second it. Discussion?
Hey, I'm confused on this one because the wording says that we're ratifying the property tax revenue increase, but we didn't take an increase.
Yes, Counselor, the tax rate does increase the revenues nominally by about $7,000. So we have to ratify the tax rate that you all had in the hearing, and then the next item would be to actually levy the tax, the act of imposing. So this one's just to say, yes, that's the rate we want, and then when we get into the next one, that's one where we say, and now we're going to impose it.
Okay. That's why I say I was confused, because I know we didn't get no new tax.
Any other questions? Any other discussion? Entertain a motion?
And I'm going to make a motion that we approve item 9 on the agenda.
I'll second
by
that.
Leslie. Second by Cindy. Any other discussion? If no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Counselor Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Kano?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Moving on to item number 10, consideration and possible action in regard to ordinance 20-16. An ordinance of the City of Kenedy levying property taxes for use and support of the municipal government of the City of Kenedy, Texas for the 2020-21 fiscal year. What's for discussion?
I'll make a motion to consider item number 10.
Motion by
And I'll
Cindy,
second it.
second by Leslie. Discussion. Mr. Lynn?
All right, this is the actual levying of the tax. By this action, you're telling the Karnes County to go ahead and impose the tax rate beginning October 1st.
If there's no other discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve item 10 on the agenda.
Motion by Leslie. I'll second that. Discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Counselor Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Kano?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. Moving on to item 11. Consideration and possible action in regard to Resolution 20-25, authorizing and approving the Kenedy 4B Corporation 2020-2021 fiscal budget in accordance with the Texas Local Government Code Section 501.073A. For the discussion?
To consider item 11 on the agenda.
Motion by Leslie.
Second.
Second
I'll
by
second
Cindy.
that, Brent.
Okay. Second by Cindy. Discussion. Mr. Lynn?
Amanda, before I begin talking, I know Mr. Kiesling asked me to elaborate on something on this. Is there anybody from the 4B on the line that wants to chime in on this? Do we know?
Not that I'm aware of. No,
Okay,
sir.
very good. All right, well, we kind of went over a little bit of this earlier tonight, but if you recall, Mr. Kiesling did ask me to elaborate on one item. And before I elaborate on that, I want to say thank you to Mr. Kiesling and all the members of the Kenedy 4B. They are, as of right now, the only 4B in Karnes County, to my knowledge, that is willing to extend funds in a grant format to the small business of the city of Kenedy. This is one of the purposes of a 4B. But during this COVID-19 pandemic that has gone on, a lot of our small businesses, and much like the Horn Toad Cafe, have had to shutter their doors for periods of time because of loss of revenue. I'm very encouraged to see Mr. Kiesling and the 4B stepping up and earmarking $176,000 of funds that can go towards helping the small businesses of the city of Kenedy keep their doors open. This is a very good gesture. This money can also go towards facade grants for them to, small businesses downtown, to do their facades and beautify their storefronts downtown as well. So the 4B with this budget and the addition of that line item is doing a most wonderful work in the city of Kenedy with that. So I'm very thrilled to see this on the budget. So does anyone have any questions about that they need me to elaborate on?
Mr. Lynn, just a quick question on those grants. And that can be used for any business within the city of Kenedy, correct? No matter how big or how small, or does it have a limit to how big the business is?
They have to be a sole proprietorship, a business that is considered a small business by the Small Business Administration, and they have to be in the city of Kenedy. So your chain restaurants do not qualify for this. Your grocery stores don't qualify for this unless it's a mom and pop store. We're talking about the people who got hit the hardest in this pandemic. The bigger retailers had deeper pockets with which they could keep their doors open, but people like the dry cleaners here in town and Horn Toad Cafe and some of the smaller nail salons and things of that nature, they got hit pretty hard when the pandemic came through and they had to shutter their doors in order to stay in compliance with the governor's orders. This money will go a long way to helping them keep their doors open through the rest of the pandemic. I know that I'm going to have to sit down. I've made myself available, I should say, to sit down with the 4B and work out the exact details and the qualifying parameters on these grants with them. But this is like a major thing for us here in Kenedy, for the 4B to step up to the plate and say, hey, essentially what they're saying is, hey, Kenedy, we got your back. And I'm very, very touched that they're doing this.
Awesome. That is a great thing.
Now, Mr. Lynn, I do have a question on the facade side of that grant. How is that going to work? Is there going to have to be a match by the business entity, or is it going to have a maximum amount per business? Do you know the parameters of how that grant's going to work yet?
Well, so one of the things is all the grants will have a max limit, regardless whether it's facade or not. But what we did in the former city I came from, the 4B up there, was the first municipality that did the facade grant. They had a $5,000 max on that. It worked very well for them up there. The downtown square beautified like rapid pace. Everybody jumped on board with trying to get the grant. So we would probably, I talked to the 4B, and they can set the max limit at whatever they feel comfortable with. They could set it at 5,000, 7,500, whatever the 4B feels comfortable with, they can set it at. Ultimately, the way these grants work is the 4B sets the parameters and the qualifiers to get the grant. The businesses come to the 4B and make application to them to get the grant. And then the 4B, the board goes over them, and they say, and they rank them and rate them, and then they approve or deny or approve at a reduced amount, whatever. And then after they do all that, then they come to council, and the council gives the final approval of it. So it's really good for morale in the community, all of this. So that's kind of where we'll be on that. I'm guessing is that the 4B will actually set that max limit. And council, I know I ran around the mountain 100 times just to answer your question, so I apologize.
No, that's good. I've always wanted something like this for Kenedy. That's when I had first found out about the downtown revitalization grant, it excited me, but there's nothing in that grant that you can do facades or anything like that. It's mainly just sidewalks and lighting. So I think it's a fantastic idea. And hopefully, even after the pandemic, they can keep funding that type of grant, and the city can allocate even more money. Because I know, our downtown has great skeleton, and there's a lot of projects that are beautiful downtown, but there's a lot more. And maybe that just could incentivize business owners and everything else to help beautify downtown and other places in Kenedy.
Yes, sir, I agree.
Well, if there's no other questions, I'll make a motion that we approve the fiscal year 2021 4B budget.
I'll second that, Justin.
Motion by, second by Leslie. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Sines?
Yes.
Councilor Kano?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. Item number 12, consideration and possible action in regard to Resolution 20-26, authorizing the submission of a community development block grant mitigation project application to the General Land Office and authorizing the mayor and or city manager of the city of Kenedy to act as the city's executive officer and authorized representative in all matters pertaining to the city's participation in the Community Development and Revitalization Program. Motion for discussion?
I'll make a motion. We consider agenda item number 12.
That's by Justin. I'll second it.
Go ahead.
Discussion? Mr. Lynn?
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you. This is the resolution that we have to adopt in order to proceed to go forward. This says that, hey, we want to make application for the GLO grant, and that's what this resolution sets forth. So we've discussed in the past the drainage issues all throughout Kenedy have existed forever, and tying them in to this grant would be wonderful. It's only a 1% match, as Councilor Meyer has stated before. So we're looking at, regardless of whatever we get, as long as we're over $3 million, it's only going to cost the city 1%. So it's well worth it in order to get things accomplished in the city.
And Brenda, just to let you know, I did give Colin, the engineer working on the project, all those pictures and pin drops you pointed out. And we're also looking at adjusting the county's application to make the city's application stronger to meet that $3 million. Because I think the last time we talked with Colin, the city's at $2 or $2.5 million in projects, and we need a minimum of $3 million. I know Mr. Lynn and I have a meeting with Doucette and Langford on Friday. So we're hopefully going to be able to wrap up the last bit of information and get that draft ready.
Okay, can I add a few notes on the line if anybody has questions?
What's that?
Justin, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can now.
I'm sorry. If there's anything else you need so I can show you those areas, let me know and we can walk out there. Especially now that we're having all this rain, we might be able to get more pictures if you need them.
Okay, I will. And I know in some of the more extreme areas, they like having pictures or videos for the application, just so when the GLO reviews the application, if they have questions, they can better understand it. But I did send him everything, but the more information, the better. It might not make it in the initial application, but if the GLO has questions, then we can reference any material that we have. But anybody else on the council, if there's a bad drainage issue in your district, this is a great time to either send Mr. Lynn or send me that information so I can make sure the engineers have it. Now there's areas all in Kenedy that we've identified, so don't think that your problematic areas probably haven't been seen. If I haven't reached out to you, it's probably because Colin and I have already found those areas and documented everything. But if you have a problem area in your district and you just want to make sure, just send me that information and I will forward it along to them to make sure it's in the application.
Hey, Justin.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm just making sure it's me, Brianna. Quick question. And maybe Mr. Lynn can help with this. If we were to get this grant and there's a problematic area and we all know it, would it be able to be used right there just behind Sonic where Craig, I think it's Craig and that's Live Oak, I think, those street meets where it always floods there? Could that be used there, part of that grant to improve that area?
I can definitely identify, I know what you're talking about. I can identify that area with him or with the engineers. I don't think at this point that project is on there, but then again, I don't know if the city would want to pave that area first. You know, I think I had brought that area up before and it was told to me because the Civic Center is going there by previous administration that we needed to get the Civic Center built first. then pave the road and worry about the drainage issues. So, Mr. Lynn, I don't know what your thoughts about that are. I know there's different ideas about a civic center. So as things change, I don't know if we should put that in the application or not.
I think, Councilman Meyer, I think it would be wise to go ahead and fix the drainage there. The direction for the Civic Center to be a reality is always there. It's actually one of the priorities this year. I'm looking at it. However, the geographical location is going to be different. I have other plans for that pad. Plans that are more enticing and will suit the city of Kenedy for years to come. So I think doing the drainage there will be a big
improvement.
Okay, so I'll get with Colin tomorrow, and we'll add that to the city's application before we meet on Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yes, sir. If there's no other questions, I'll make a motion that we approve agenda item number 12 as stated.
I'll second that.
Motion by Justin, second by Leslie. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Sines?
Yes.
Councilor Kano?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. Item 13, consideration and possible action to adopt the Citizen Participation Plan policy for the GLO Community Development Block Grant Program.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Justin.
I'll make a motion we consider agenda item 13.
Motion by Justin. Second by Cindy. Discussion. Mr. Lynn?
Okay. Thank you, Council. This Citizens Participation Plan policy ensures that the citizens are provided ample notice and ample opportunity to speak, and if they have any complaints, it outlines the complaint procedure regarding the grants process. This is a requirement that we adopt this in order to be considered for the GLO grant program. So it is something we do have to adopt if we want to continue to go forward.
And it's just in layman's terms, it's a formality that we have to follow with this grant process. So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve agenda item number 13.
And I'll second that.
Motion by Justin, second by Leslie. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yes.
Councilor Sines?
Yes.
Councilor Kano?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. Moving on to item number 14. Consideration of possible action to an addendum to Accordance 20-09 adopting Federal 2 CFR 200.318-200.326 and Appendix 2 to Part 200 for federal programs to ensure the City of Kenedy procures materials and services in an efficient and economical manner that is in compliance with the applicable provisions of federal, state, and local laws and executive orders.
Make a motion to consider item 14 on the agenda.
Leslie with the motion?
I'll second.
I'll second. All right, go ahead. Justin, second. Discussion? Mr. Lynn?
Thank you, Council. Okay, so again, one of those things we have to do, formality, is have a procurement policy, which we had in Ordinance 20-09. For the GLO program, there were some specific things that needed to be into the procurement policy that wasn't in our policy. So this is just an addendum to our ordinance to cover the things the GLO requires us to have. So I guess in layman's terms to say it's a formality we have to do to move forward with the grant.
With that being said, I'll make a motion that we approve agenda item number 14 as stated.
I'll second
Motion
that.
Second by Leslie. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Councilor Briones?
Yes.
Councilor Wynn?
Yeah.
Councilor Sines?
Yes.
Councilor Kano?
Yes.
Councilor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. We already did item 15 to start off, so we're going to move on to item 16. Consideration and possible action in regard to ordinance 20-11, an ordinance of the City of Kenedy, Texas, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 66, Parks and Recreation, Article 1, in general, Article 2, Parks and Recreation Board, Article 3, Parks, providing for a penalty as a Class C misdemeanor and a fine in an amount not to exceed $500, providing a repeating clause, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Make a motion to consider item 16 on the agenda.
Motion by Leslie. I'll second it for discussion. Mr. Lynn, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so I know there's some miscommunication here as to who put this on the agenda. It was not Mr. Lynn that put this on the agenda. This was requested by Mr. Sutton in an email to the city secretary that this item be placed on the agenda for discussion tonight. So that is why this is on the agenda. Because as the presiding mayor, he has that right to put items on an agenda. That being said, however, we do need to take a look at this. I believe the city attorney is still on the phone. Is that correct? Ms. Gadd, are you on the phone? Okay.
I am.
Okay. I have a couple of questions before we get too deep on this, because it is, in at least the way I understand things from looking at the current code that is existing, I need to get some understanding as to what is considered a board member. Would you please define a board member for me, please, Ms. Gadd?
I would define a board member as anyone who had been appointed to the board, as well as who was currently a board member, not a past board member.
So someone whose terms are not expired would be considered a board member? Would that be my understanding of your definition?
The correct understanding of my definition.
Okay. Ms. Hines, do you have a list of the Parks Board members?
Yes, sir, I do.
Can you please tell me how many members of that board do not have expired terms?
4.
4. The current ordinance states that there must be 7 members of the board, and according to the definition we just heard, that would be 7 people with unexpired terms. Currently, the Parks Board only has 4 members who do not have expired terms. Therefore, we have an issue. We have to help them get in compliance, and unfortunately, the current code states that only the mayor can recommend people to be on the board. So even though I was not the one who put this on the agenda, I believe we need to address this tonight so that we can get this Parks Board staffed with the proper number of people again, and so that we can move forward. I know that the council had asked me to meet with the board, though the council never dictated a time frame with which to do so. And during budget season, unfortunately, budgets take precedence over such things. So now that we're coming out of budget season, I'd like to sit down and meet with the board, but I cannot legally do so until they have a qualifying amount of members. The ordinance in front of you tonight reduces the minimum number of members from 7 down to 5. It does reduce the maximum numbers from 11 down to 7. But nevertheless, they're already at 4. So if we got them down to 5, it would be easy to get one appointed to get to 5, which would then enable me to be able to sit down with them legally and discuss business with them. So I'm of the opinion, and it is just an opinion as the city manager, that we need to move forward with this tonight. However, council, it's in your hands, and you're allowed to do as you wish.
I agree that we need to get more members on there for them. Is anybody on the Park Board on the phone, Amanda, that you know of?
No, Ms. Overby, she said that she was going to send her public comment, but that she would not be attending the meeting.
Okay. I agree that we need to get the number of people that need to be on there so you can talk to them. I agree with that. But I don't think, and I agree that we need to change it from the mayor to maybe to city council to appoint some people to get them on there. But I don't agree on changing everything on this yet until you sit and meet with them. So we can change a couple of things and then get you to meet with them and then revise the whole thing the way we need to, then I'm okay with that. So,
but Brenda,
we want to just change.
Brenda,
Yes.
did you?
Yes, I'm listening.
Did you hear what he said? In order for him legally to meet with them, they have to be an established board. In order for them to be an established board, if we don't change this ordinance, James is the only person that can nominate somebody to go on that board and then bring it before us. And
that's what I said. I said, let's change the parts that we need to change so we can get more members on the board. That's what I said.
Right, but what part of the resolution do you not want to change?
Well, I'm still not 100% sold on reducing the number of board members and changing the terms, because we had talked about that before, about how difficult it is to get people to even volunteer to do these boards. So I'm kind of still sketchy on changing the number of terms and the number of people, but at least we can get, if we want to change it to 5 for now, to add that extra person and appoint city council to get that member on there so then he can go talk to them and get all this figured out, then I'm okay with that. But I just don't agree on changing everything yet until he's had the opportunity to talk to them. So if we just change those points that we need to change today to get them in compliance, to get them the number of members they need, then I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with changing it from the mayor because, we need to change it to somebody else, whether it be the council members make that recommendation, any of the council members and the city manager. I mean, that's okay if we add him too, the council members and the city manager to appoint somebody. And that's great with me. I don't care who appoints them. I'm just saying, let's not change all of it until we've had a moment to visit with them to see what they feel their numbers need to be successful. But if we need to change it for 5 for now to add that extra person so he can meet with them, then by all means, let's do that. But I'm not agreeing with changing everything just yet. Just the things we need to, he can visit with them.
Mr. Lynn, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are all the other boards, do they have terms? They have their number of people that are needed?
No, ma'am. We are going to have to revisit this for every single board.
Right, and we had talked about that. We were going to change them all the same across the board. We had talked about that. And one of the things that we all agreed on is that he would sit and visit with every board to get us all the same, so that way everybody will have 5 or everybody will have 7 or whatever we decide, that they would be the same across the board. But now you're telling me you can't meet with these people because they don't have enough members. So let's get them their members that they need so we can meet with them. So then we can change all these boards to the same across the board. I'm okay with changing them all across the board. I'm just saying give them the opportunity to speak with you like we asked you to do. And if we have to change the council appoint somebody to make 5, great. Let's change it to 5. Let's appoint somebody and let's meet with them. So we can meet with everybody and get everybody across the board the same. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Councilors, there is a second part to this whole ordinance that has become overshadowed by this. And that is we are adding and changing rules at the park as well. This ordinance overhaul is not just about the board itself. It's about overhauling the entire code. We are adding rules that are more clear. We are adding rules that bring things more in line with the directions that's in the spirit of what everybody has expressed they want to see, that I've spoken to as well. So it's not just about restructuring the boards with the, especially the park. It is also about adopting new rules that we're going to enforce as well. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands it's not just about Part A. There is a Part B to this that we need to address as well.
And I get that. I do, but I still think it's important to have a sit down. And it's just like you did with 4B. Exactly what we asked you to do. You sat with them. Y'all came up with a plan, and it worked. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I want for all our boards, for you to be able to sit and visit with them, find something that works so we can get it in the right way and the wording's right and everybody understands it completely. I just think we need to change those things we need to change today to get them where they need to be so you can sit and visit with them.
Justin, your thoughts?
So I'm kind of in a mixture. Like, I understand both sides of the story. I understand where Brenda's coming from, and that's more of kind of my stance on things, where I lean on things. I don't want to make any too harsh decisions tonight because I really do. I mean, I'm one of the council members that wishes we could meet face to face. I just enjoy meetings like that much more. I feel like we work together. But I also we are violating the ordinance as it is currently stated. So I'm trying to always find a solution. I don't know what our actual options are tonight. What, as a governing board, do we just let it go by and kind of continue the wishes that we asked past city council meeting to have and just sit down with them, or is the council looking at making some big decisions tonight in this? And if so, I would be glad to hear any ideas and then give my. I was kind of sitting here seeing what the other councilors thought, so I can formulate an idea of what I thought was.
Here's where I'm at. I don't like the fact that we're okay with violating our own resolutions because we don't want to do what's necessary. I'm not okay with that. We have a resolution that says what it's supposed to be. We can't do that. We know we need to change it, but we don't want to change it because we want to talk to everybody first. Well, we can't talk to everybody because they're not a board until we can put a number on them and give them enough people to be a board. But we've got to do the things that we are accountable for doing, even though they're uncomfortable sometimes, to make things better. What happened with 4B worked. And it worked because there was a lot of people talking.
So I agree with you, Leslie, 100%. I agree with we shouldn't be doing things that are wrong, and we should put things in place that are correct, and we're following the law. I agree 100% with you. All I'm saying is let's change the things we need to change so we can get them to be a board, and we can sit and visit. Now, if you're okay with changing all of this, and then they meet with the board, and the board says, man, we really need to have 7 people because A, X, Y, Z. Are you okay with coming back and them saying, hey, can we please change it back to 7? Are you going to be okay with going back and changing it to 7? Or are y'all going to say, oh, no, it's too late, we've already decided?
But can't we leave it? Can't we leave it at 5?
If you read what's on the, let me finish. If you read what's on the, it says 5 to 7. You can either have 5 or 7. You don't have to just have 5. We were just going to get them to 5. So because they've got 4, we only have to come up with 1 more to get them to 5. But they can have up to 7.
And right now, I guess 5 is that magic number to make them legal, correct?
Right, exactly. 5 just makes them legal. We're not saying it's just going to have to be 5. It says 5 to 7. So if they want to have 7, they can have 7. But 5 makes them an official board. Right now, they're not a board.
And I get that. I get that we need to get them to at least 5. And I'm okay with that. And so what do we need to change to get them to 5? Do we need to change the wording that says that the mayor appoints them to city council recommends or Lynn recommends? What do we need to do to change that to get them to 5 so then we can have these discussions with them and make sure we have everything in place that we need to have in place? That's what I'm saying. I agree with you. We need to fix it. We need to make everything straight across the board. Every board needs to follow the same rules because it's too confusing to have one board following one thing, this board following something totally different. I agree. It needs to be the same across the board. I agree 100%. We need to be in compliance with the law. What I'm asking is let's get them to 5 and figure out who's going to appoint them. Is the council going to appoint them or is Mr. Lynn going to appoint them? Let's make that decision. I'm okay with that. Let's get that down there. Let's get that in fixed. And, and then when he meets with them, if there's something that they would like to be added, I'm asking, are y'all okay with them coming and saying, can we please add this because we feel this might work? Are y'all going to be willing to listen to that and maybe even say, okay, let's do that if that works for y'all? I mean, are y'all going to be in agreement with that? Or y'all just going to say, no, it's too late. We've already changed everything. It's just too late now. Do you see what I'm saying? Because
I see what you're saying. Let's ask the attorney what does she thinks best for us to do it the way that we need to do. Because when we start doing stuff beyond the resolution, we open ourselves up for a lot of stuff that is not good for our city.
Exactly.
So Leslie, this is the part that this was my question, I guess. I'm not trying to violate any type of ordinance or resolution that the city sets. I guess I'm just not understanding why one member of the board cannot come and sit down with the city manager, discuss
they don't have these. Because right now, Justin, they don't have a board. They have 4 people that meet the criteria that the resolution says makes up their board. Our resolution that we have in place right now requires that a board has 5 members.
Okay, Leslie, I understand that. What I'm saying is they have 4 members that qualify as board members. So they have an issue.
That's not a board.
But hold on, Leslie, let me finish. Okay, so they have an issue right now. They only have 4 members that qualify as board members. They do not have a full board. What I'm saying is why cannot one of those 4 members come to the city manager and say, look, according to your ordinance, we are in violation right now. We need to either figure out a way to fix the ordinance where our board is all of our members, or whatever number of members, where we get in compliance, we need to work together. So if one of those 4 members came to Mr. Lynn and said, hey, so-and-so does not meet the city ordinance, what do we need to do? And if they find out, well, why do these members not meet this ordinance? And then maybe express to him, this is why, this is our concern. If we stick to this ordinance, we would like to come to council and propose an ordinance or a resolution change for their board. And maybe that resolution change might be the change that's needed for all the boards across the board. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I know they don't have an official vote. They don't have a voting board.
I understand what you're saying. And that's why I was asking the attorney to give her input, so we understand what we're doing when we violate our own resolution.
I'd like to hear that as well.
Before the attorney speaks, may I say something?
Go ahead, Mr. Lynn.
Okay. As I listen to you counselors talk, you're all saying the same thing, basically. Okay? You're different words, and you're coming from different directions. The reality is, everything you're saying, let's do, we want to see, this ordinance answers and takes care of everything. If you read the ordinance tells you how many people have to be on the board. The ordinance tells you who can nominate, and only the council can appoint. So it answers all those questions that you all are having. The biggest issue that I have heard over 2 council meetings regarding this is the number of members and the terms of the members. So here's my simple solution to all of this. Take the ordinance as it's written tonight, pass it, okay? Then what happens is I sit down and we say, okay, guys, we need 1 more member. We got it to 5, they've got 4, we need 1. And we have a council meeting and we put 1 person at least on the agenda to be appointed by the council. That person gets appointed. Then I can sit down with them and say, okay, guys, hey, let's discuss why you need more than 7. Tell me why you need more than 7. And we can talk about it, and we can formulate, and we can work together, and we can do all that kind of stuff. Okay? The thing is, this ordinance, again, is more than just the number of members. It is rules at our park that are in jeopardy as well. Rules that, number 1, makes our park alcohol-free, makes our park smoke-free, makes it safer for our children. Okay? So there's more to adopting this ordinance than just, the board members. That part is fluid. We have to first say, here is our foundation. You got to build your house. Here's my foundation, 5 to 7. Now I go talk to the 5 people. And the people say, well, we want 9. Okay, maybe 9 works. So maybe instead of 5 to 7, we do 7 to 9. So then we bring it back to council and we say, hey, council, I sat down with them. We talked about it. I can see maybe where they need 7 to 9. And we put it on there to amend the ordinance. It's not a big deal. And then we can be fluid with everything. Everything in government is fluid. It's all fluid. Nothing is definitive. And as long as we're fluid with what we're doing, we can do things tonight and move forward and help all these boards do what they need to do and be what they need to be. And I hear the concerns. Everybody wants me to get involved with the boards. Believe me, I want to get involved with the boards. But I can only do so if they're in compliance with what the city councils prior to y'all have set forth. So if we work together and just say, okay, start here, build a house, now let's add a wall, let's add another wall, let's add a roof, let's do this, then I think what's going to happen in the long run, we're going to see the construction of this ordinance come into play as well as other ordinances that everybody's going to look at and say, hey, we did this together as a team, but we got to have a foundation. And the current foundation that's there is cracked. The cement is breaking. The rebar is showing, and it needs leveled. So it needs work. It needs help. That's what this ordinance does. It helps. So that's just my humble suggestion in all of this.
I have a question. So the 4 members that are okay to be on the board right now, they're not in jeopardy and they're not in their 2-year consecutive. They're okay and to get another person and be able to be a board. Is that right?
Amanda, that's correct, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't want us to come tomorrow and say, okay, now we have 5, but number 3 now is in jeopardy because now they've been in 2 consecutive years, and because now the new ordinance says it has to be 2 consecutive years. Now they're still not a board. Now we need to appoint somebody else. You see what I'm saying?
One member expires in January 2021, and the other 3 expire March 2022.
With the new ordinance or with the old ordinance?
So these terms are already set. So these terms won't change for the current members.
And that's the other thing. The ordinance doesn't change the terms that are already there. It doesn't stop them.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I just want to be real clear because I don't want, like I said, I just want to be clear and open that if we say, okay, let's do the 5 or the 6 or whatever we decide, let's get them appointed, and then tomorrow we come back or next meeting we say, okay, because we have those 5, number 3 doesn't qualify now because da-da-da. I just want to make sure we're clear that once we get that 5th or 6th person, we're good to go. We can visit with them. They're aboard again. We can get rolling, get things going, and be compliant. That's just making sure we're clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Am I right?
Right.
Am I wrong?
Yes, ma'am.
You're right, but here's the other flip side to that quarter, too. Let's say that you guys adopt this ordinance tonight, and we go with that. Let's just pretend, suspend reality for a second, okay? And let's say that between now and the meeting, where we're going to add the 5th person, somebody else falls off the board, okay? Well, guess what? Because you adopted this ordinance, anybody can nominate. So instead of having 1 nomination to get them to 5, you would have 2 nominations to get them to 5, or whatever it takes. So it's not like it would be a deal to where if someone fell off, we'd be back at square one. We would be moving forward saying, okay, hey, wait a minute. I see we need 2 now. Let's get 2 people on the agenda so that we can be at 5 right away. And that's how it would work. I mean, that's how it's supposed to work. That's the design of it all, is that, the secretary of the board is responsible to keep up with the terms of the board members. And when they start to get close, working with the city manager, they would say, okay, what do we need to do? Okay, well, we have so-and-so's coming up in 3 months, and they're meeting this criteria, and we're going to have to replace them. So we start 3 months out looking for people so that we can have a fluid board going forward. And that's really the way it's supposed to work. And everything, like I said, is fluid, Counselor. If we see that 2 2-year terms back-to-back, max of 4 2-year terms doesn't work, well, we change it. That's what we do. We're government. We change it. We say, okay, let's change it. And we do. I mean, we look for solutions to things that are broken, and we fix them. And so, I realize by putting some of this stuff on there, I look like an ogre. But the reality is I'm trying to get everybody on the same page and fix the broken bicycle. I'm trying to get a brand new tire on the bike and a brand new chain and new handlebars and those clicky thingies that go in the spokes that we all as kids love so much. Okay? And I realize I'm being kind of cutesy-wootsy on some of this. But the point is, if we do this together, and that's the key, together, we start here at square one, and then I can go to square 2 with the board. And then if we need to go to square 3, we can go to square 3. It's all perpetual. So
I get it. And I appreciate that you're trying to make everything better. I do. I really do. I appreciate that you talked to 4B. You guys came up with, so I'm very pleased with that. I am. And I'm pleased that we want to change these things and make these things better. I do. I just want to make sure we're doing all the right things and we're doing in the right direction and not lose people that we really need for Kenedy. All these volunteers that help and do these things without complaining. So that's all. My concern is that we keep the good people that we have and let's move forward. Amanda, can you tell me who the 4 board members that are still okay with their terms?
The 4 current board members are Lucille Matthews, Gerardo Salas, Alicia Sandoval, and Suzanne Ramirez.
Correct me if I'm wrong. If one of us wanted to nominate the Miss Ogilvy to be back on the board, we could do that after this resolution is passed, right?
That
Can
would
we
be
do
correct.
that today? Okay. What do you think, Justin?
I'm reading over everything again, like Exhibit A. So, Exhibit A, Section D says members shall serve no more than 2 consecutive terms and shall not serve more than 4 total terms. That was something in the original meeting. I don't know if I fully support that because I know, like at the chamber, and Leslie, you know this, it's 3 term or it's 3 year. It's a 3-year term.
You can serve 3 3-year terms with a total of 9 years, and you can take a year off. And you can come back and serve 9 more.
And that's something I really would like to see in the new resolution, or the new ordinance.
You would like for the wording to say they can serve 2 consecutive, take a year off, serve 2 more consecutive, take a year off, serve 2 more consecutive, and so all you're doing is taking that year off is giving somebody else an opportunity to serve, because when they get ready to come back, somebody's always leaving in that 2-year time.
Correct.
So,
because the way I read. Go ahead.
How would this sound? The board member can serve no more than 2 consecutive terms, and they must take a year off before serving another 2 consecutive terms.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with if you can potentially get back on, because that always went back to what I was saying. You have limited amount of people who actually want to actually serve on a board. So I think
that allows them the opportunity to do that. Out of 9 years, they can serve 8 years.
Yeah.
I can change that language easy.
Okay.
That language isn't hard to change. I can make that happen.
Anything else, Justin?
So what were the term lengths and term amounts again?
You can serve
the original one. Go ahead. Sorry, Counselor.
You can serve 2 consecutive 2-year terms, which is 4 years. You take a year off, then you can come back and serve another 2 consecutive terms before. So you can serve 8 years out of 9.
But then you're capped out at 9? Or I'm asking, does that cycle repeat? Like, my question to the council is, are y'all okay with doing 2 and 2? After the 4 years, you have to step down, and then do 2 and 2, and after your 4 years, you step down, and then if you want to keep going after it every 4 years, if you keep getting appointed, would the council be okay with that?
I think after every 4 years, you need to take a year's break.
I agree.
Yes, but I agree with that. But my question is...
But I don't care how many times they come back, as long as they take a year break, so that opens it up for somebody else to be there, and then when they get ready to come back, somebody else is leaving.
I can agree to that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, too.
I can make that change after the fact.
Cindy,
So
Brandon.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I'm good
Go
with
ahead,
that. I'm
Michael.
good.
I was gonna say, so once we pass this today, once we do this, the next thing, can we say we go ahead and appoint Miss Overby? That way, Mr. Lynn can go ahead and make an appointment to visit with them and figure out the other board members or add more if we need to. Is that correct?
That would be a question for the attorney. I don't know if we can do it tonight. We might have to do it at another meeting.
Yes, I think you all should do it at another meeting.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
But we can call a meeting for that. We don't have to wait to a scheduled meeting, you know.
Correct.
Yeah. So we can make it happen.
I just think we need to make it happen as quickly as we can so we can get this board back in order.
Right. Well, we got to do the 72-hour thing, but, you know, we can make it happen pretty quick.
But I would recommend, and I'm sure the attorney would agree with it, would be that tonight, before you adjourn out of the meeting tonight, that somebody makes a motion to hold a special meeting for this purpose tonight. We set it tonight. That way it's done with all the counselors. Everybody's there. We won't have a quorum issue. Because when you call a special meeting, you have to have 4 instead of 3 to make a quorum. So everybody's here tonight. So that would be my recommendation. And then we can go ahead and do the agenda and set it up and have that done. And if you already know that you want to do Miss Overby, then we can go ahead and do the agenda line item for it to be Miss Overby.
Can I make one suggestion, please?
Right ahead, sir.
Can we actually, and I'm just asking the council, can we solicit and maybe put this in the bylaws that we solicit in the newspaper? If we're changing it to the appointments by city council members, maybe we should do like we solicit for bids. We should solicit it in the Karnes Countywide and ask for nominations for the Parks Board. And we can put it on our city Facebook page and everything else. The council then receives the letters. We get it in our packet. Say it's Justin Meyer, Brenda Cano, Cindy Sines, Brandon Briones, Leslie Wynn. They all want to be on the Parks Board. Then the city council reviews it, and then the city council picks then off the nominations. So maybe, you know, I know the council wants Miss Overby, and that would make our 5, but maybe we should solicit. Maybe we can get a couple more interested people in the community who want to be on the board as well. So instead of making it a 5-member board, we can make it a 7-member board.
Yeah, well, that's what we said. We could. It says 5 to 7. We already said that. We just want to get the 5 so we can start moving forward, and then we can do whatever we want to do to go out and solicit for others to get it to a 7. Yeah. But yet 5, you are legal.
Right. I just didn't know.
I agree.
Yeah. Game. Yeah, I'm fine with doing the special meeting, appointing Miss Overby. That's fine. I just didn't know if we wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone and maybe just do it all at one time. But if y'all want to do a special meeting like next week, I'm fine with that too, because I want this to move forward. I just didn't know if we wanted to go a little bit step forward or a little bit more and maybe try to get, because it seems that they enjoy a larger board. Just kind of personal.
What if we Justin, what if we go ahead and do, like you said, the special meeting next week, get Miss Overby back on there, and then they can go ahead and start advertising or doing whatever they do, and then we can, you know, maybe at our next meeting, or we may have to call another special meeting, we can add those other people that they need.
No, and I'm fine with that. I know. I just know it was brought up before because the mayor or the Parks Board took applications via Facebook. Maybe we make it just one step more official, advertise it in the countywide, and the council receive any letters or resumes or whatever is asked for the appointment, and we all see the same thing, and then we congruently together make that decision. Okay, so kind of like we did with Mr. Lynn when we were looking at city managers. We grabbed our top 5, you know what I mean? And we look at our top people, and then we say, okay, you like this person, you like this person, and go from there.
I agree with that.
And I'm okay with all of that. But right now, what we're trying to accomplish is to get a board where they can meet with Mr. Lynn and go forward.
I agree, Leslie.
Yeah.
I agree, Leslie. Yes.
Yeah.
I think it took a little. I know this was a longer item, but I think this item definitely needed some discussion. I think everybody kind of collectively now is in agreement. With that being said, I'll just go ahead and make a motion that we adopt ordinance 20-11 with the recommendation of adjusting the term length to 2-year terms for 2 consecutive terms with a 1-year break, and can continue that on, and then hold a special meeting. Is everybody okay with next week, Monday or Tuesday?
Let me look at my calendar real quick.
Let me look and see. Let me make sure.
Actually, I lied. Next week, Monday.
14th.
Yes, sir.
I'm good on the 14th.
I'm good on the 14th as long as it's at 6 and not 5.
Yeah.
Cindy?
I'm good.
Randy?
Yeah, Justin.
Okay, so to include in that motion that we hold a special meeting to appoint a 5th Parks Board member at a special city council meeting.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Justin, second by Cindy. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Counselor Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Cano?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor?
Motion passed. Moving on to item 17. Consideration and possible action in regard to posting a request for proposal for professional services relating to a city auditor. Motion for discussion?
I'll make a motion we consider agenda item number 17.
I'll second
Motion by
that.
Justin, second by Leslie. Discussion? Mr. Lynn?
Yes, sir. Council, thank you. It is highly taught that every 3 years you should change certain professional services, and the auditor is one of them. It keeps the auditor from becoming too familiar with the people in the municipality. It keeps them objective is the main key. So that's why this is on there. Not that this is a light on performance of any auditors in past. It's just a formality that we as a municipality need to move forward with, get a new auditor in for objectiveness. So.
And this is going to be for fiscal year 2020, correct, Mr. Lynn?
Right. This will be for the audit that ends on September 30th of this year. And what we would probably look at doing is putting them under a professional services agreement for 3 years. And then they would do our audits for 3 years. And then after that, we'll be right back here again looking for another audit.
Then I'll go ahead and make a motion that we solicit for proposals for professional services for city auditor.
Second that.
By Justin, second by Leslie. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Counselor Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Cano?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor?
Motion passed. Item 18, consideration and possible action in regard to the acceptance of a bid for the paving of Pullen Street. Motion to discuss?
I'll make a motion. We consider agenda item, oh no, what is this? 18.
18.
Motion by Justin. Second by Leslie.
Do we have bids?
It's in that.
Tierra Lease and SOP Construction.
In our past, well, here's 19. Where's 8? Oh, here we go.
Page 94, Leslie.
Page 94. Yeah, I'm looking at it. I can't get the wheel to stop spinning and get small enough to see, but.
Mr. Lynn, after opening and receiving the bids, do you feel like these are competitive bids for this size of project?
I do. I believe these are competitive bids. And I will tell you that we have a very good relationship with one of the contractors.
That'd be SOP?
Yes, sir. Tierra Lease does very good quality work. So does SLP, and we have a very good relationship with them.
I wish Tierra Lease was closer because they are local, but.
Yeah.
And we've noticed this with county, like, we'll solicit out for paving projects. Tierra Lease, they used to be really competitive, but they're just not as competitive as they used to be. Although, Joey Newberry, I know they do great work, but I mean, that's a difference. That's a difference of $25,000.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at. So,
is that a normal cost for one road?
Oh yeah.
Yes, they're doing an FDR, which is a full depth replacement. So they're not just doing an overlay. They're going to actually cut the road and put base down and kind of stuff. Yeah, they're building. They're actually building Pullen Street.
Building a road. Okay.
So, Mr. Lynn, I know in some of our other paving projects that we've done, like East Main, where we've got the engineering for it, do you know what the specs of this road is?
Excuse me. Okay. We actually have in our employ a former TxDOT person who has done this all throughout the state. I had him look at this road and put everything together for us on it. The actual detailed specs I do not have in front of me at this point in time. They're somewhere in my mountainous of trees. I'd have to go through them to get them out to tell them to you, sir.
That's not a problem. I mean,
I did review the bid package, and everything looked to be in order. It was very, very nicely done. And I just know that regardless of who the council would choose, I know that when it's said and done, we're going to have a road that's going to last for years to come.
And so, and I know this, but I just want to make it clear to any of the citizens listening. So this is going to be ingress and egress road on Pullen Street. And then if I remember correctly, I think I talked to Amanda, it's going to be 23, hold on, I'm trying to do the math. Let me do the math. It's going to be 23.5 feet wide and 16 inches of gutters on each side, if I remember correctly. Does that sound right, Amanda?
I think it was 18-inch gutters, if I remember correctly.
They're not really doing gutters. They're going to do like what's up on 181. It's going to be flat. Right. If you're coming up 181 and you're taking the exit to go down into Escondido Park and you look at the asphalt and you see that concrete right there, that's what they're going to do. The water's going to hit the asphalt and then it's going to drain off to the sides like that. That way it's not in the roads. So it's a really nice concept that makes the roads look nice. They last longer, especially an asphalt road. So that's the concept they're going with. It's not going to be a gutter like you would think where it's indented, where the water gets in there and runs. The water's going to drain right off. It's going to roll off to the sides, I guess I should say.
Yes, sir. And I know we have a lot of streets in Kenedy, in every single district that need paving done. I appreciate the support from the city manager and the council in this, because this is going to be for a parkway for everybody in our district, the city of Kenedy, Karnes County. And I know we have a lot more paving projects coming up. I know in the budget that we passed tonight, there's a lot of proposed projects coming up. So I appreciate it. And this is going to be a great thing for Kenedy.
It's going to be a really awesome thing for Kenedy, because that's where they go in the park at. They can come in off of 81, but they can't go back out. But they can go out and come in on Pullen.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. I mean, this is awesome. I'm just really, as we start to put the final touches on some of this stuff, I feel like a little kid that's looking at his chocolate cake again, you know, fixing to dive right in. It just really is exciting, the things that's happening in Kenedy right now.
Yes, sir. So I'm
going to make a motion that we accept the bid from SLP Construction of $161,781.70 for the paving of Pullen Street.
I'll second Leslie.
Motion by Leslie, second by Justin. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Counselor Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn?
Yes.
Counselor Sines?
Yes.
Counselor Cano?
Yes.
Counselor Meyer?
Yes.
All in favor.
Motion passed. Moving on to item 19. Consideration and possible action in regard to the Texas Municipal League Intergovernmental Risk Pool Board of Trustees election ballot. Motion to discuss?
I'll consider agenda item number 19.
Motion by Justin. I'll second it. Discussion? Mr. Lynn? Presentation?
Thank you. All right, Council, this is the the Texas Municipal League Risk Pool, as well as the TML and all these bodies that we're members of. They have boards that govern them, just like you govern the city. And they're elected by the members that they serve. Unfortunately, I must beg for the council's forgiveness. I got a little marker happy, if you will, and I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. I saw these names of people that I recognized and knew had done a good job at TMLIRP, and I started checking boxes, and when I got to the end, I realized that I forgot this had to come before council to actually approve the people that they wanted. So the marks there would be what you would consider as my recommendations to the council as to who I would recommend you choose. However, the council, you can choose whomever you wish to represent us in each of the categories.
Well, I don't personally know of any of these people, and I will say if you know these people and these are the recommendations that you would make personally, then on the behalf of the city of Kenedy, I'll make a motion that we consider, or that we approve the recommendations by the city manager for the Texas Municipal League and the Governmental Risk Pool Board of Trustees.
Motion by Johnson.
I'll second that.
Second by Cindy. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Amanda, please call roll.
Counselor Briones?
Yes.
Counselor Wynn, Counselor Wynn,
Yes.
Counselor Sines,
Yes.
Counselor Kano,
Yes.
Counselor Meyer,
Yes.
all in favor.
Motion passed. The local government code. Hello? Go ahead, Leslie.
I heard you saying something. I didn't understand.
Go ahead, Leslie. No, go ahead.
That was
I
it,
would just
right?
like
That
to
was the
say-
last one?
Yeah, I would just like to say something really quick on before we adjourn. Just to thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers. This past week for my passing of my uncle, it was very thoughtful. Everything went very smoothly and well for us, and I just wanted to reach out to all the city employees if they're listening, and thank you for being such a wonderful friend to my uncle, and we all really appreciate your thoughts and prayers.
And what I was getting ready to say, Brandon, before we adjourn, I wanted to make the community known that our mayor has missed 3 consecutive regular scheduled meetings. And according to the Texas Local Government Code 22-041B, he has given up his seat as mayor by doing that. I just want to make sure that was on record. He's forfeited his seat by missing those meetings.
Yes, sir. We don't. Mr.
Brandon,
what we gonna? Go ahead, Justin. Go ahead. I'm trying to figure out we're gonna do the post.
Yes, and so Leslie made an acknowledgement to the community and to the city. But with that being said, I'll go ahead and make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Second by Brenda. Meeting's adjourned. Thank y'all for everything.
Thank y'all.
You did a great job tonight. You have a great week. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank y'all. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.